The Life and Sad Ending of Antonio Fargas. Antonio Fargas was born Antonio Juan Fargas on August 14, 1946, in New York City, New York, the U.S., to a Puerto Rican father and a Trinidadian mother, probably on August 14, 1946. He and his 10 siblings grew up in a housing project on Manhattan's Lower West Side. Fargas' father was a garbage man who later worked in public relations, and his mother, Fargas told Boston Herald reporter Paul Sullivan, was a great domestic engineer. When Fargas was a sophomore in high school in 1961, he noticed a story in New York's Amsterdam News saying that auditions were being held for an independent film called Cool World. He got the part. Around the same time, Fargas was a member of a youth group called Harlem Youth Opportunities Limited that offered theater programs to aspiring actors. After receiving instruction from actor Robert Hooks in Hooks' apartment, which wasn't far from that of Fargas' family, he got a part in an off-Broadway stage production called The Toilet in 1963. He made the first of what would become a lifetime's worth of trips to England in 1965 to appear in the play The Amen Corner, and he won positive reviews back in New York 2 years later when he appeared as Scipio in the original Broadway production of The Great White Hope, a play about the life of boxer Jack Johnson. Just 20 years old, Fargas convincingly played the part of a 90-year-old witch doctor. Fargas also made notable appearances in a 1968 New York Shakespeare Festival production of Romeo and Juliet and in the 1969 play Ceremonies in Dark Old Men. Dividing his time between New York and Los Angeles, Fargas began to break into movies. He had parts in some of the popular black-oriented films of the early 1970s, like Shaft in 1971, Cleopatra Jones in 1973, and Foxy Brown in 1974. In 1974 he also played Quickfellow in Conrack, a film made from author Pat Conroy's autobiographical novel about his experiences teaching in an African American community on one of South Carolina's coastal islands. Fargas also garnered roles in episodes of such hit television series as The Bill Cosby Show, Police Story, Kojak, and Sanford and Son. Fargas had appeared in the 1972 film Across 110th Street, directed by Barry Shear, and when Shear was signed to direct the pilot episode of the ABC network Starsky and Hutch in 1975, he cast Fargas in the role of Huggy Bear. The role wasn't initially intended to be an ongoing part of the show, but producers noticed the chemistry that quickly evolved among Fargas and stars David Soul and Paul Michael Glaser. Fargas ended up remaining with the cast through the entire run of Starsky and Hutch, which left primetime airwaves in 1979 but lived on for years in syndication. Huggy Bear was charismatic, fashionable, a bit lovable, and unfailingly entertaining. Such traits anticipated the rise of rap music's gangsta variant, and thus it was no surprise that Fargas was later cast in films such as the Wayans brothers' I Am Gonna Get You Sucka in 1988, even if he took some criticism from activists of the 1970s for perpetuating stereotypes of blacks in the entertainment industry. The end of Starsky and Hutch barely slowed Fargas' career. He returned to the stage for a time in the 1980s, explaining to the Providence Journal that I hadn't been on stage for a long time. Your acting muscles atrophy when you don't use them. He had the lead role in a 1985 play called Toussaint, Angel Warrior of Haiti, which traced the life of the 19th-century Haitian independence leader Toussaint Louverture. That year he also appeared in a New York Shakespeare Festival production of Shakespeare's Measure for Measure, and in 1986 he had a role in a Philadelphia production of The Amen Corner, the play that had taken him to England as a teenager. Fargas continued to act in films, and in the 1990s he kept up a steady schedule of television guest star appearances in such series as The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Martin, Living Single, and The Steve Harvey Show. In personal life, married and divorced twice, he moved in with his partner, real estate executive Sandy Reed, in the late 1980s, raising her 2 children and Fargas too from a previous marriage. One son, Justin Fargas, became a football star with the Oakland Raiders of the National Football League. The early 1990s offered real challenges for Fargas. He conquered alcohol and tobacco addictions. The 1994 earthquake centered north of Los Angeles trapped him and his wife in different parts of their Northridge, California, home, with each thinking the other had been killed, but Fargas broke down a door and they were reunited. Probably, right now is his worst time when his health is slowly deteriorating. Thank you for listening to the story about the life of Antonio Fargas. Like and comment on your opinion in the comments section below.